Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Now, I got everybody out of the house. It's 100 degrees out, and my family has decided they're going to go swimming this morning. So it's going to be 100 degrees throughout the day. So they're gone, and I decided to do something a little different with our webinar and intro it with some important points, picking up where we left off with the mindset area from the last video, and kind of going to get into the preparation phase of what we're going to do, and then we're going to get into the actual funnel piece. And in the course of doing this, I thought, well, let me do it in the kitchen. You know, the kitchen is where I have built nearly every one of these businesses, sitting at the table, across the table from people, and if not sketching it out on a napkin or a piece of paper or turning the pages of a presentation book or a flip chart, it's been one of the above, and for years this is where we made it happen, and it's where, frankly, I think probably God's anointing comes out the most, at least from what I know, which may or may not be in the eyes of some folks very much, but we want to believe. And so God framed the world with His Word. He's teaching us to frame our lives the same way with our words, so let's go ahead and stay positive with the words, and that's part of what we're all about here. So that being said, to make the connection between last week and this week, I want to get into the idea of what you've got to do to get started. You know, every time in the last several years, of the 4 businesses that we decided to build, each of them was the last one we were ever going to do. But nonetheless, I would go into what we call into the hole. And what does that mean? That means I'd go into a preparation phase where I would begin to dissect the business. I wouldn't try to learn everything, all the ins and outs about the compensation plan. Believe it or not, a couple of these businesses, I didn't even know anything about the compensation details. Sometimes I think we get paralysis by analysis, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what business we're in, it's still all about people. I'm going to share more about that in a moment. And so having to be prepared for that is one piece. And whether it's either emotionally and spiritually ready to do battle, I'm going to address that. It's being prepared to know who I'm talking to, why I'm talking to them, and it's going into the hole and getting prepared. Now, many of you have kind of just been in this mode, particularly with Disrupt. We've been waiting for this thing to launch, seems like forever, right? And so we still have some things we got to work out. It's totally irrelevant to what's happening, and all that stuff's going to work itself out. You know, we have a rule in my house called the 6-second rule. And the 6-second rule is when we decide that we think we need to worry about something, we take 6 seconds to realize it's none of our business, in God's hands, and what do we got to worry about? We'll leave it with Him, and we'll go on about our business. So I'm not going to be derailed mentally by all these other things going on. I'm going to stay in and operate in the fundamentals of getting prepared. Part of that for me was in getting to 4 of these to a 5-figure check within 90 days or less was the preparation that I'm going to share with you right now. So the first thing I'm going to do every single morning is I'm going to start my morning off with this. Does that make sense? Let me take a shot of that. Pretty good. I'm going to basically pull out my notebook. This is going to be like my second Bible. And in this notebook is going to be all of the decisions, the names, and everything about what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry it in 1 2-inch binder notebook, and I'm going to have it sectioned off, and I'm going to have a calendar in here to track my activities. It's going to have my commitment of how many people I'm going to contact every day about the business. Before I put my head down, if I'm in a hurry, I need to have the plan of action. We are empowered with knowledge, right? And we have a knowledge of what we have to do, where we have to do it, when we have to do it, and everything functions from inside this. Now, a lot of us use the mobile phone. Well, I find that the mobile phone is a great tool, but this thing is constantly laying out in front of me, where I can hide that other bit of information somewhere on some app. I want to keep this in front of me all the time, because here I'm going to make my commitment. I'm going to dissect and segregate my list. We talk about in the training about finding a niche inside of Disrupt. It's easy to do. There's a lot of things to like about what's in there from a product and service standpoint. And I'm going to find out my top 1 to 3 areas that excite me. the most. And why do I want to pick the ones that excite me? Because in the communication with them, you're going to be transferring that excitement. So we're going to break that list down based on the products and services I'm most excited about, and who that list contains the people who would be most likely to have some value or receive value from the information. Not necessarily going to get in and jump all over it. Everybody on this list is just a name on the list. I attach no emotional or assign no emotional value to anybody on the list. It's just a list I'm going to share. Remember, that's a mindset factor. Because if I attach some type of expectation or emotional attachment to a name, then I'm going to be derailed. I'm off thinking about, well, I've had people put all their hopes and dreams on one person on that list. Bull, don't do it. Everybody's the same, right? And at one time, I was just an unlikely name at the bottom of somebody's list, right? So I'm going to create my list. I'm not going to pre-qualify or prejudge any of them, and I'm going to keep it in this book. And so that's very important. My calendar, and you can organize it any way you want to, but you need to take about 45 minutes to an hour to get this set up, and then constantly every day adding to your names list. Keeping this thing with you wherever you go and making notes. You keep a section in here for notes and activities. You keep a section in here for the calendar. You keep a section in here for your website link, your top upline telephone numbers. Even though you might keep it in your phone, keep it on a hard copy, keep it in front of you where you can see it every day. I'm making a commitment now to build this list and segregate the list to the things that are most important or I'm most excited about. Now, the next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to set aside a certain amount of time every day to engage the activities associated with that. All right, you set that aside. Usually that's going to be in the afternoon lunch hour, or it's going to be after work. Now, the most important thing you can do is in the morning time is to create a special time where you're going to be able to get alone with you and the Lord. Now, I'm a Christian, and I believe that the empowerment that I have and the wisdom and the discernment that I have comes from the Lord and His ability through what He's promised, particularly in Proverbs 3 and 4, that I can acquire wisdom. Romans 5, 1 through 5 talks about the ability for me to have favor, to try to get God's favor on my daily activities. He's promised me access in that regard. He's promised me peace of mind. He's promised me a lot of things that I'm dependent on because I know it's going to take some of my elbow grease, but I realize that it's also going to take a lot of me being aligned. And a lot of success in business is 100% showing up, but it's showing up with the expectation that good things are going to happen to me. So I'm going to start my day setting the tone for the day. The guy at the gate, beautiful, that got healed by Peter, he had a heavy expectation. And Jesus, through Peter, healed him right there on the spot. So your expectation and the mode you set your day in to operate and function inside contacting the people through the sharing process and through what we're going to share with you is very important. Now, that's how you begin the day. And let me share a couple other things here. And we got some prompts. Besides the time that you spend in the Bible and finding and building that relationship, and of course, you may be in a different Bible, different whatever. This is what I know, and this is what I'm sharing because it works. It's been part of building 4 businesses to 5 figures within 90 days or less, okay? So please don't send me any emails. Please don't contact anybody with hate mail about that because it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. Now, I would make a suggestion to you that if you're expecting to run your race, I said last week that part of promotion, and that's what it's going to be. You're going to be promoting up a compensation model. You're going to be promoting yourself into a different environment. It requires transition. You cannot do the same things that you've been doing and expect to get to where you're going. Some of your activity is not correct. I've heard it out of some of our team members' mouths, particularly about their names list. So I know your mindset. If you listen to a man for 5 minutes or less, or a woman, they'll tell you everything you need to know. And if you've got discernment, godly discernment, you can judge where you can be a blessing to people and be an encouragement to people, and that's what this is all about. So if you're preparing to run hard, you not only need to be prepared with your names list and all the mechanical issues of how to build this business, but you need to be spiritually and mentally prepared. And so you start today preparing and feeding that spirit man with the quality food, moving from milk to steak, and being able to be the leader that God has called you to be through receiving that. All right. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to understand that the leaders are readers. And you've heard this too. So some of my library, I would suggest to you, if you're a couple, or you may be kind of on edge with each other, maybe your relationship's not working right, then I'd pick up a book. Here's one, The 5 Love Needs. Okay, and this is just an example. So find something that addresses that part, because you can't take a vehicle on a fast race when it keeps breaking down. And if you're going to get promoted, you need to transition out of the things that are going to blow that engine out or blow that tire out. And so spend some time maturing. Leaders are readers. You become like the people you associate with and the books you read. That's why I start every morning with the Word of God, and now I add leadership to it to be able to feed that part, to keep myself sharp. Another thing, if you're a parent, maybe you're a parent and you're in this business and you're having some challenges with your kids. Here's a good one. Stormy American, and I think I've said her name right. My wife's got all these books all around the house. She reads this book, The Power of a Praying Parent. I mean, so now you're dealing with that part, because you don't want to be trying to run your race and have that issue. Parents, that just tugs and pulls on your heart. Now, if you're a single guy, or just if somebody that wants to, change your thinking because it has been stinking, then you got something like this. This is Dr. Davis Schwartz. He wrote The Magic of Thinking Big, but here's another one, The Magic of Thinking Success. So there's a lot of different books. I tell you, the one book that made a difference, and you can't hardly get it, I think it's out of print, you can go on eBay, is called Skill with People with Les Giblin. Now, this book changed my life. I mean, and it's really short, but it's people skills. You got to understand, you're about to embark on a race now. You got your mindset, you're working you. Now, this is working you, but it's going to also inflate you to be able to take the shots that a high friction speed is going to put you through if you're wanting to build it quick. I mean, you're going to be like a racehorse or a rocket ship, and you start breaking through. If you think getting through to freedom is going to be a walk in the park, I got another thing coming for you. This world and this world system is totally against those of us who have a certain a trend of thinking. It's against us. So you've got to prepare yourself both spiritually and mentally and be able to be equipped to run the race. So what you've been doing, if you think you're going to run a disrupt business to the next level, it's not going to happen. Something somewhere is going to break down. So I want you to be prepared. So we've got obviously the book and some of the things we're talking about, and then obviously many of the books beginning with the Bible. And I'll tell you, here's a couple more. Here's The Magic of Thinking Big. Actually, it's got some notes in it that I read out of it. This has been a great book. The gentleman that started the MLM company called Max International wrote this book, and it's called The Greatest Words Ever Spoken. And it's nothing but the Jesus' words broken down. This is an incredible book. Man, I really love that book. And so that's part of my time. So we've got the mindset now. Now let's go ahead and jump over and let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do mechanically to get you started. Now that we've got you prepped, we went into the hole, you've got your book, you've got your notepad and notebook, your names list, you got everything in place. Now let's go ahead and jump onto the computer and take a look at what we're going to do mechanically to begin to put all this into play. Let's go into my office and do that now. All right, guys, let's jump right into this phase after the setup. Obviously, I've spent quite a bit of time on that and all the things that go into that with a little different approach. You guys could see me this morning. Now I'm in the desktop, and I want to focus on the next phase now that you're ready to go, and that is this little section right here in the strategy, in the workbook. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting enough information that allows me on each prospect that I can actually get their mobile phone, their email address, and essentially have the proper contact information right there. Now, you don't necessarily have to have all of that in the actual workbook. Obviously, you may have several of these contacts already in your phone. Now, I'm going to go down each one and kind of give you an overview of my experience relative to each one, and I'm going to start with the phone contact. And typically, if you're a brand new person starting out, or in some instances where you're an individual who's been building a business a while, it's sometimes good to have your upline kind of shag along on a couple of your calls, because you may be, in both instances of the new person and the person who's been around, you may be taking too long and you may be saying too much. And again, we get back into that, don't puke on everybody, say enough. Most of my phone conversations are going to typically be something along these lines, and there's some rules that I have in deploying it. Number one, I know I've got a big list, so I'm not hanging my hat. I address that. I'm emotionally detached from the outcome. All I'm trying to do is get people now, 25 people. The goal is to get these 25 people into that funnel. You understand? So how am I going to do that? Well, you're going to actually start by making a phone call that essentially goes something like this. You're going to clear the moment. You know, the one thing that bothers me about being on the phone with people is that I'm typically, when they're calling me, I'm usually doing something. And it could be that it's very important to me, and it's obviously the likelihood of me taking the call or receiving your call. If you're calling me and you just start in right away, you haven't cleared the time. Do you have a minute? It's key. A professional clears the time, because you don't want to try to force the information or the objective of the call on somebody who is typically trying to fix dinner, is in the middle of a meeting, going into a meeting, and you've got to learn to discern the timing. So the first thing you're going to do is always clear the time. And if they say that they can't talk, great, go to the next one, no problem. You just leave the what I leave is an empty circle that's next to the name. That in the notations for all my contacts, a circle looks something like this. Now I'm going to show you. So if I call that guy and I don't, let me change that to blue or black pen maybe. Okay, I got him. If I left a message with him, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to end up going in here and filling in half of that circle, and that says that I contacted him, but in this case, it's only going to be half the circle that's going to be full, because I know I've left a message. That tells me I've left a message. And then if I've contacted them and I've got some type of response, I'm going to then go out here to the side and I'm going to make a notation. It's a yes, or some other notation. So as I go down my list, I'm making specific notations that I've created for myself, and those are 3 of them. It could be a no, could be whatever. I'd make a little notation. So those are the 3 basic. I called, did not get an answer. I called and left a message, or a callback, a CB, okay, a CB, a yes, a no, and so I'm logging so I can quick reference. Now, the rule number 1, as I mentioned, you want to clear the front time with them. The second thing is now, what is the objective of the call? Is it to tell them all about the opportunity? Is it to jump right in and tell them how excited you are? No, it's about, in my system, it's about trying to find out, as an example, hey Bob, do you got it? Do you got a second? Yeah, what do you got? Well, listen, I don't have but 30 seconds. So right away, I'm telling that guy that I am not going to be long. Relax. I'd say, Bob, I need to confirm that I got your email correctly. I'm not sure if I've got it right. Can you confirm that for me? Yeah, Bob Smith, 1247 at gmail.com. Well, great. Well, listen, I'm going to be sending over some information. I feel pretty sure that you're going to be interested in taking a look at.
and look for that information. I'm going to call back to make sure that that got through, because there's some time parameters on that information. But anyway, listen, I got to run, and so I'll chat with you in a bit, but look for that email. I'll call you back in a day or so. How about that? Great. I'm in total control of the conversation, and I've just told him that I'm basically going to be sending him something of importance, roughly thereabouts, right? And so that's all I'm trying to do, because the next thing I'm going to send him is I'm going to send him to something that's going to capture his information or lead and show that he actually engaged the information. And if he doesn't engage it, and I call back and I chase him, or you feel like you're chasing him, then stop calling him back, and then just send him a simple email, say, hey, I'm sorry, that information has gone off the board. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to see it. Maybe next time. You never told him what it was. Okay? I'm in total control of this deal, not the prospect. I don't care if he's a banker, a president of a bank, president of a company. I'm basically going to follow the same mode. But you'll note I was just trying to confirm the email. I want him to go in, and I want him to engage my information in a way that I can track that he was there and that he had a chance to see it. That's going to tell me how I'm going to go up through the follow-up process. So I may give him 24 to 48 hours. What I also did was I told him to expect another call from me, and that I would be. I didn't say, hey, I'm going to follow up to see if you liked it. I'm going to follow up. I just said, I'm just going to call and make sure that you got the email information. See, I've totally gone away from, the information itself, and so that's kind of how I do the phone call. So the phone call, the purpose is to get the information. Now, you can send an email to somebody and send an email, but that's a little bit less effective. And then follow up. I think it needs to be phone call and email. Well, people don't want to pick the phone up because it's a 50-pound anvil, right? And nobody wants the rejection. Well, you're not going to get rejected. You're going to get rejected if you're trying to sell something, not share something. I didn't say I was trying to sell. I had something you might be interested in. Right now, I've left him wondering what the heck it is. So now when he gets it, he's going to open it up. And then he's going to be more likely to take the next step to fill out the information to get into the overall information. I'm not going to send him my website. I don't want him to see my website. It's too much information. It's too big of a brochure. I want to lead him and incrementally. And so the phone call is important, and that's the first way you're going to communicate with them, because these are people that you know. Now, if it's somebody I don't know and it's a third party, this is how it basically will go down. I'm in somebody else's list now, and I'm saying, hey, Bob, this is Pete Meadows. You don't know me. I don't think we've ever met, but we got a mutual friend named Susan Steno. And Susan had suggested to me that you were really a sharp guy and that I needed to get some information to you about some things we're working on in the area, and she told me that I could give you a call. And I've got some information. I just wanted to call and validate your email address. And I'm going to let him, and he may say, well, yeah, what is it? Or what's it all about? Well, listen, I only got a second, but that's why I wanted to send you the information. So I'm going to get around that. That's why I'm calling. I want to get your email to show exactly what it's about. What was that email again? I'm not going to give in. I'm not budging, right? And so I'll get into a little bit more about building in somebody else's list, but I just wanted to touch base with you that there are some different things that you're going to do in both the conversations. And people, a lot of times, you got the liberty, more liberty with other people's lists than you do with your own. I mean, it's really, you get two kind of perspectives on that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the email and then the follow-up phone, you're chasing it, right? The other thing you can do is, and what's really been happening very well in the industry, is a lot of people have been building in the text messaging. And you're sending us a quick text message, but it needs to include, hey, I'll give you a call to make sure you got this text. And you kind of follow that same phone scripting that you would have with the initial phone call that I talked about just a minute ago. And so I'm going to be real short on the phone. I'm trying to get them the information. I'm just trying to drive them to a location to where I can track whether or not they went in and looked at the information. A blind email, I don't normally know, right? And so they may not have gotten it, or they weren't expecting it. I think the reverse of phone call email is much better than email and phone. I think the conversion and just the time is much better. Text messaging, I think that's a pretty good way if you're messaging folks, but you need to be able to follow the same process. I mean, they're going to be immediately going to your information, and so they're likely to step in there. But again, I like the phone contact first. I mean, that's just how it's a preference. Now, the other way that you're going to be able to get this accomplished, and when I'm talking about this, is that you're trying to get the prospect in front of your information. You're trying to get them through the incremental steps to where they're going to be able to get enough information to where you're going to be able to get into the follow-up process. Now, I want you to think about this in these first three ways. Obviously, I've said the phone contact's the best way, and using the other tools, the email and the text, where you can. All of this is designed to really identify the prospect. And what I'm going to be doing is filtering through, and if people are not responsive, if people don't return the calls, if people don't let me or give me the email address, or if they don't follow up, they've qualified themselves as a prospect, let them go. Quit trying to chase them. Because now, at that moment, when you begin to pursue them, and many times they won't even give you an answer because they don't want to tell you no. And pretty soon, you'll find after a couple times, I give people 2 times, that third time, strike 3, that's when they're going to get the message, well, the opportunity went off the board, and man, I hate that you missed it. They were giving away money. Sorry you missed it. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? That you still haven't told them what it was, maybe in this instance, if you know they haven't looked at the information. And so it's very important that you understand that you don't want to lose your posture, because in that list, I'm not chasing these people. And then when I get them, it's like begging them. If you got to beg them, you beg them to get in, beg them to listen to you, beg them to get in, you got to beg them to stay in. And you get a big enough organization, you're just working quadruple time. Forget that. Your posture's got to be you're running a professional business. People either going to respect what you have, even if it's an older group list of people. For some of you that are out there that essentially got an old list, if they don't respect you, they're qualifying themselves. And so, hey, that's great, because eventually you're going to keep going on. And that's where you can't be emotionally attached by it. Every one of them can tell you to go take a flying flip. Hey, praise God, go to the next one. You know, your vision for what you are doing and your desire to get there is got to be so big you don't give a rip. You know, one of the things that's really great about our faith is that Jesus made the connection. He didn't come to do away with the Old Testament. In fact, bring it all together. We are seeds of Abraham according to the words in God's covenant with Abraham. And one of the powerful things about Abraham that really sticks out to me as it relates to building a business, and it talks about it in Romans, Abraham's faith, that he was fully persuaded. He was fully, that he had a God type of faith, right? And a God type of faith is calling things that be not as though they were. You can read that in Romans. And that Abraham was fully persuaded. And you've got to come to the point that you're fully persuaded. And part of the reason why you need to be doing that daily devotion and reading those books is because once you start treading out into the world of that list, even though you're sharing, you need to keep yourself inflated. You need that spirit, man or woman inside of you to be inflated so that it is resilient, that you keep taking the shots and you keep coming and you keep coming. And you don't revel in how many shots you've taken. You revel in the fact that you got a brand new day with a brand new set of expectations. You know, the woman who was healed by touching Jesus' garment, she was healed basically because, as Jesus said, woman, your faith has healed you. Well, part of that faith was that expectancy that I talked about at the Gate Beautiful, where the beggar, the crippled man, was healed by Peter. Silver or gold have I none, but what I do have I give you in the name of Jesus Christ. Rise and walk. And so he was hollering out, the beggar was hollering out to Peter. And the fact was, he had a level of expectancy. The woman who got healed had a level of expectancy. And so you've got to get on the phone with the expectancy that these people are going to engage you for business. Okay? That's your posture, that's your demeanor. Hey, I got something, and that's going to give you that extra bump in your posture. And when you know you've got a big list, that also encourages you to know that, hey, I can never run out of people. So 100 of you can say no, and I'm still going to pick up the phone, and I'm going to meet my obligation that I've gotten written down in this workbook, that I'm going to make 10 contacts a day. And you goofball people are never going to stop me from getting to my dream. You're in a fight. You're in a fight for your financial freedom. You're going to fight like a MMA fighter. You're going to fight like a jiu-jitsu fighter, because you're going to have to fight to be able to break through the stratosphere of where you are to get to where you want to be. That's why having that spirit man filled and having that additional book, inflating your mindset, helping to grow your expectation, addressing where you're weak. Because if you've got the weaknesses, you'll have a tendency to find out that in the course of the pressure of taking maybe some garbage that you may have to take in executing in the list, you're going to take some shots. Big deal. I mean, I was at a buffet today with some business partners, and in walked a veteran who had 2 steel legs and half a limb. And we were at the bar, and I looked at one of my partners, I said, we really got problems, don't we? So you got to look at it from the perspective that it's no big deal. Quit making it a big deal. It's got to be something that you, Nehemiah 8:10, if you read that, the joy of the Lord is your strength. So you take the expectancy, the joy, and the faith, and you get to the phone. Don't pick up the phone if you're going to go and you're tired. And sometimes you're going to have to recondition yourself. You're going to have to drink 2 to 3 extra thunders and to get yourself set up for that time frame that you're on the phone. Don't go to the phone with all that. Don't go if you're, go read the book. Go watch some videos, motivational videos. Start rehearsing the stuff that you want to do with this. Then go, okay? So that's what you're going to do in that list. Now, there's going to be some additional things that you're going to do, or ways that you're going to be able to get your contact list engaged. Obviously, the first 3 is we're trying to get them in front and take them. Now, part of the follow-up process or the introductory process is the home meeting, where you might have a local meeting. I know Mark Taylor does a meeting in Waco. Okay. Now, here is the thing that I can say for Mark. Mark probably would agree with me on this, but we don't want to keep seeing the same 9 or 12 people every week. That's the problem with people who are not building very aggressively, who are not building the way that I am trying to introduce to you. Because if everybody's building with the fact that they're digging and they're sharing, that room is going to keep growing. But if we're not doing the right activity, I mean, we're going to see a bump of 2 or 3 people maybe and think that's a celebration. And it is, based on the fact of where we are. But it shouldn't be that way. Because if you're in a hurry to get this done, like I always have been, if I don't have 4 or 5 people at that open meeting, then I'm not doing it right. And I'm not using the open meeting as a primary way to build a business. Here's why. This is a big mistake by a lot of folks with the open meetings, particularly when you launch a business like this and we start open meetings before we've got enough home meetings going on, or we've got enough people engaging the list like I'm showing you. There's an error in jumping into doing open meetings. Now, I'm not saying anybody's doing this, so I'm just trying to enlighten on some of my experiences, because I've launched businesses around the world too, and I've enjoyed watching Kenny. Kenny's a master at it. I think Kenny's probably the best international business builder I've ever seen. And I'm watching Jeremy now, and it's pretty cool what he's done. So it's really cool to watch the evolution of these guys in the business. And I've had some failures and I've had some successes. And so nonetheless, the open meeting that starts before you got a pocket of home meetings. You know, I talked to one company, the energy company, and they wanted to have a weekly meeting here in Georgia in a couple places where they wanted me to do a Tuesday and a Thursday. And I said, you know what, this is not working, because the fact is that there's not enough people. They're hanging their hat and trying to build their business based on these home meetings. And I said, that's a problem. Well, I'm talking to the guys who are these experts sitting up on Stemmons Freeway up in Dallas, who got looking through these emerald stained glass windows of, you know, this big office complex. And I'm talking to them, and they know everything. So I was suggesting maybe they go to 2 meetings every other week. And they couldn't figure out for the life of why in the world I was doing that. I said, because what you're doing is you're setting up a culture to where these people are only building from week to week. And they're getting on an occasional conference call. And you're dumbing down what we're trying to do. And well, what's the problem with building from week to week? Well, the explanation is simple. If we got one guy he's been working all week, he's working his hiney off to get one prospect to this open meeting, and all of a sudden the guy doesn't show up, he's wasted a whole week, and he's going to sit there through that 1 hour and basically begin to disintegrate in his emotions and his minds, because he was worked so hard and the guy didn't show up. Because we're crippling them by thinking that somehow that's how you build a business. The open meeting should be a follow-up as part of the extension of the third-party validation and getting them around your upline. It's not to be the primary way that you build your business. You're going to be building onesies and twosies. Onesies and twosies. And that's not going to get it done quickly. You want to expose your list to a maximum number of people, and you're making that commitment in the early stages, and you're going to use that home meeting as a way to follow up. And I think if you're using it any other way, you're really crippling your people, frankly, right? And so that's the home meeting, and the opportunity meeting. I think the home meeting should come before the opportunity meeting. So now if we're doing it meetings every Tuesday, well, they argue that you want to be consistent. Well, you can teach them to be consistent either way. Create new habits every other Tuesday or every other Thursday. But in between, bust your tail, have a home meeting. The upline should be, if you're doing this right, if you're a leader, you need to be in somewhere that Tuesday that you're not having an opportunity meeting, and making sure that you can still commit the time, but you're somewhere in depth. All right, this week I'm in I just sponsored a guy. I want to be somewhere in his list on that Tuesday night, or I'm going to be making phone calls with him. I'm going to be helping him get people. I'm going to be making the phone contact and sharing the links with him. I'm going to be doing something that gets me into B. So I need to be in the B as quickly as possible. B being the next guy in underneath. I'm trying to help my guy, and I'm gonna try to get it in the C. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna explode that. That's coming Monday night. And so hang on to your hats. You're gonna see something how this thing is gonna evolve and how you're gonna be able to maximize this thing come Monday night. I'm gonna blow you away. You're gonna be blown away by this. So the home meeting time parameter. And again, you can keep weekly opportunity meetings, but guys are going to have to be busting their tail on Thursdays and Saturdays and doing one-on-ones. I mean, you need to get after it, and you need to be down in depth every time. It doesn't need to be the same people meeting at the same house you need to be getting into or having. Now, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. Back up. You can do that. But if you're the host, you need to be ensuring that you're down there and you're not just waiting for people, your team, to bring people to you. You need to be intentional about the process of driving depth. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. So if you are having the home meeting, you need to be, and it's at the same place every time, you as the home person need to be in the bottom, getting somebody in depth so that there's a new face in front of that. And if you're going to open up your home to have a meeting, you don't want to constantly be having your frontline people just bringing in width. You need to be intentional about driving depth. Remember, width is profitability, depth is security, right? And so the danger of these things, I wanted to share this with you. Now, obviously, I've just covered the home meeting and the opportunity, kind of intermixed them there, and why you don't want to hang your hat totally on the opportunity meeting, because that can be detrimental. You need to leave room, and you need to have a purpose for the home meeting. It needs to be continually, it's a tool to be driving depth. That's what I'm going to say, and stop there. Now, let's talk about the sixth thing, to kind of look at how much time we got left here. Let me take a second and take a look at what we got. And what we're going to do is talk about the immediate three-way. Now, the immediate three-way is a way that if you ever deal with Kenny and you bring up somebody and we want to talk to somebody, Kenny, boom, he pops the three-way. He's got a great habit of doing that. And you should learn from that. We should all learn from that. That if, we bring somebody in immediately, or he tries to anyway. And so he leads the way on that. The immediate three-way is going to be for people that you pretty much have a relationship with. And let me talk to you about that while we're on it, because that kind of gets into we're obviously talking a little bit about introducing and sharing, and we're talking a little bit about the follow-up process and the three-way pieces of all that together, and it's kind of hard to keep it all segregated because it bleeds over. But in the remaining few minutes, I want to talk about that three-way. Now, when you're doing a three-way call with somebody, when I'm in a conversation and I know I'm in an environment and I got my phone and I know that I'm going to be talking to this guy about it, I may let my upline in the business know that I may be making some calls today. Are you available? Who's available? I want to know. That's got to be an important part, and that's something that you would keep in your workbook, where you've got the times that you don't forget. What are the best times typically? And you need to inquire of your upline, the first 2 or 3 people, and in fact, even cross-line people who are pretty good, and you get permission from your upline to let cross-line people, you kind of help each other, and that's important. And so the issue here is that I'm looking in that one-on-one conversation when I'm with that person in introducing them. Now, we're talking about, hey, I ran into him, I know the guy, and we start talking, and I'm not going to puke a whole lot, but I know I've got a relationship. I got a little more brevity here to talk about things, as opposed to a brand new guy who I'm just going to get his information, say, hey, I'll give you a call, I may have some information I want to run by you. I don't know. I don't know if you qualify. You may or may not qualify. I like pulling that one on when I'm in somebody else's list. I don't know if you're going to qualify or not. I'm taking the thing away from them before I've even showed it to them, but I'm doing it in a way that's very respectful, honors my person as the presenter of that individual, but I'm posturizing it and saying, hey, look, I don't know if this is going to interest you. I don't even know if you're going to qualify. Again, that backs up into the phone contact. But in this case, I'm out and about, and I know the guy, and I've known him for years, whatever. I said, hey, look, we're doing some stuff that's pretty exciting. I'm going to find a way to get that guy, if I can, to get him to ask me a question. Now, again, this is part of a really more so of a follow-up, but we're dealing with the contact list and the initial contact, and these are all circumstances that you're going to be running into as you begin to accelerate into doing your business. So in this situation, I'm out and about. I'm looking for a way to make an immediate three-way call. Well, how much money can you make in that? Or we're launching, where I'm talking in terms, well, we're going to be launching. We're launching. Looks like it may be some pretty good opportunity. And I don't know, when are you going to be? Well, boom, you know what? It's a good idea. Let me find out. I need to get the date on it. I'm going to find a way to intentionally get my three-way made and get my upline. And this is how it should go. So say Bob is the guy I'm talking to. He's a friend of mine. And let's use Kenny as an example as the upline. I'm going to say, hey, Kenny, Bob and I were talking about this, talking about our launch. And Bob asked a really good question. I'd like to see if you can give us the answer to that. Now, I didn't highlight Bob, and I don't do this in a three-way follow-up. And again, talking about a little bit different animal here, but it's really the same principle both ways. When you're making a three-way, you and the prospect, you and that other person are basically inquiring of the individual who is the expert. Because probably before I got on with Kenny, I'm going to tell him how great a networker this guy is, how much money he's made in the past, what he's done, just the quality of person he is. I'm going to paint such a massive picture that the guy thinks, oh my gosh, I'm on here with the Pope, So at the end of the day, I'm going to ask Kenny, can you give us that answer? And then I'm going to put it on speaker, and I'm going to have Bob right there. And then I'm going to say, hey, Kenny, Bob's right here. Why don't you say hello to him? Say hello. And I'm going to hand Bob the phone. And all of a sudden, he's going to be talking to Kenny. And I've got the click going on where I've just now made the connection with him. Now, that is, you got to really know who you're dealing with in the relationship where the guy's not going to be hacked off and he feels like he put you in a bad situation. And then I'm just going to take the phone and say, hey, appreciate it, boom, and going about my business naturally. But what I've done is that Bob's sitting there thinking, man, this guy's pretty nice. I've been able to engage. I've done something. I've already moved him 3 levels down the information pipeline. Now, you can't always do that. And again, that's just one of these things that you're going to be out and about. That is the only time that you're out and about that you would do that. And it is a small portion of your list. But I want to apprise you that's going to happen. And y'all that have built this, you're going to run into those situations, those relationships where you're, out and it's a comfortable setting. You can begin talking. But you can look for a way to get that immediate three-way. So we've got 6 ways of communicating the people that we've built into our niche list, and 6 ways of engaging that contact list. And again, all of it is tracked in the book. I'm going to make a notation of every conversation. I'm going to commit to having a certain number of these done every single day, some type of communication, and I'm going to get them in that funnel, whether it's sharing the information, getting it to them, and in the follow-up process, beginning to see where they qualify themselves. And that's the key. All you're doing is sharing a boatload of people to qualify themselves. They're going to qualify themselves. Don't try to, put expectations on them. They'll qualify themselves by how they'll respond. And if they're looking, listen, you can't sell anything to anybody. You understand? And if the right person isn't ready, then they're not the right person. And I don't know, the best way to say this is you can't convince a guy who's not ready. That's all I can tell you. And if he is, if he is ready, then you have run enough numbers to catch that one. Listen, to build a massive group, all you need is 3 to 5 people who will be as consistent as you are. You're not looking for 10,000. Get that out of your mind. You just need 3 to 5 solid builders. You can take over the world with that. I'm not kidding you. All right, well, I'm running out of steam here. Monday night, we're going to be covering some really important. I'm going to tell you, this is what's going to happen here Monday night. We're going to talk about the new upgrade for the video marketing package. Because in July, everything's changing. We're going to be adding an actual bonus program for those of you who are advanced members. Who obviously, this is not, you get these features as an add-on. We promised that, and we're going to deliver that. And so between now and July 1st, you're going to want as many people to be into your sphere of influence and building a bigger internet footprint with your team, all right? And the price is going to go up. It's going to go up $100 on the setup. So it's going to go to $295, $29.95 a month, and you're going to be able, if you promote five in a month in your team, you're going to get a $250 gift card. And we're going to actually monetize the sharing of this. We're not going to pay in cash, but we're going to give you gift cards. We can't do that. I can't do that with what we have here. We're already limited, but you're going to be able to we're going to be doing some more, and you're going to see why there was a price increase of the setup when you see the added feature that's going to be very important. In fact, it is the funnel. You're going to get a look at the funnel, and you're going to absolutely love the features on this. This thing is 4 years in development, guys, and I am so pumped. So Monday night, you're going to see that unveiled, and you're going to see a very powerful tool that's going to help you to take that 25, and we're going to show you how to leverage that and turn your enrollments into almost a situation to where when you're enrolling one, how you're going to be able to enroll potentially 2, 3, 4, 5 every time you get one. It's powerful. I mean, this is powerful, and this is how we were able to do it. But now it's automated. There's an automated way. I did it, what you will see in Monday night, I did it basically through tracking on pen and paper. What you're going to see is the automation web creation of exactly what you're going to do with that list, how you can track the list, how you can pre-build this thing, leverage, and really have a great tool that's going to allow you to do even more, get even more conversions out of that. And so that's going to be part of the new package and some of the new features, so I whisper that to you. In the meantime, as we close tonight, I also want to let you know that we're going to have a real new emphasis coming in July. And there was a theme song called the Hall of Fame. And I love that song. They did it during the Major League playoffs a couple years ago. And the guys did it. It's kind of got a Christian theme to it. And what you're going to see is that we've created a video. I'm going to introduce you to a video that we've created that is, we're going to close with this today. The video is basically Disrupt Worldwide. We're celebrating you. And the video goes through and it basically shows a little bit about our business, and then it shows the fighter. And it's really what it's representing is what you're having to do to learn how to change your mind, learn how to change your habits, learn how to fight through the stratosphere of defeat and the negative that the world will pose as we go and begin to bring in the harvest of people into our business, people who need hope and need a change, who are in need of what you have. And that's why you need to be out and growing this list and changing your mindset, reading the books, doing the devotion, becoming the leader that's going to be necessary for these numbers of people, all of whom who need what we're going to be. They need it. And if you don't, then who will, right? And so you're going to see the fight, and there's actually some real live footage of a world champion fighter in there. And at the end of the video, there's about a 6, 7, 8 period that it's dedicated to you and celebrating you as a champion going to the Hall of Fame of life.
Working so diligently and hard on that, our partners that we've just brought on that we can be proud of. So 2 weeks ago out in New York, had a great event.
Yeah, you could be the greatest, you could be the best, you could be the King Kong banging on your chest, you could beat the world, you could beat the war, you could talk to God, go banging on his door, you could throw your hands up, you could be the cloud, you could move a mountain, you could break rocks, you could be a master, don't wait for luck, dedicate yourself and you can find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. The world's gonna know your name. Yeah, 'cause you burn with the brightest flame. The world's gonna know your name. You'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. Go the distance, you could run a mile, you could walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be a hero, you can get the gold, breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Never gonna know if you never even try. Yeah, do it for your country, do it for your name, 'cause it's gonna be a day when you're standing